If you've been wondering whether the high country real estate market is heating up, cooling down, or simply finding its footing, then this update is for you. Today, we're breaking down the latest numbers from May 2026 and discussing what they mean for buyers, sellers, and investors across the high country. And while there are definitely more homes hitting the market, the story isn't nearly as simple as the market is slowing down. So let's go ahead and dive on in. The first thing that jumps out in the May numbers is inventory. New listings coming to the market increased by roughly 10% compared to April, and our active inventory is also about 10% higher than it was this time last year. Now, if you've been following the market for the past several years, you'll know that's actually a pretty healthy sign. For a long time, buyers were dealing with extremely limited inventory. Homes would hit the market and receive multiple offers almost immediately. But today, buyers have more choices. That doesn't mean we're suddenly oversupplied. It simply just means that we're moving to a more balanced market where buyers can compare options, perform their inspections, and make thoughtful decisions without having to feel rushed. And for sellers, it also means presentation and pricing matter now more than they did a couple years ago. Buyers have options, and the best homes are the ones that just continue to stand out. Now, here's where the data gets interesting. Despite having more inventory available, buyer activity actually increased significantly in May. The number of homes sold jumped about 24% compared to April, and the closed sales are up approximately 12% compared to this time last year. In other words, buyers haven't disappeared. They're still purchasing homes throughout the high country, whether that's primary residences, second homes, vacation properties, or investment opportunities. What we're seeing isn't a lack of demand. What we're seeing is buyers becoming more selective and taking advantage of having more inventory available to them. That's a very different story than a market turn down. Now let's talk about prices. The average sold price in May came in around $660,000, which represents about 4% decline from the previous month. The median sales price is also down roughly 4% compared to last year. Now, before anybody starts predicting a market crash, let's put that into perspective. After several years of rapid appreciation, some moderation is actually healthy. What we're seeing is a market that's finding a more sustainable pace rather than continuing the aggressive price growth we've experienced in previous years. For buyers, this can create opportunities. And for sellers, it means more realistic pricing is becoming increasingly important. The days of simply putting any number on a property and expecting multiple offers may be behind us, but well-priced homes are still selling. One metric I always like to watch is our price per square foot. So in May, the average price per square foot came in at around $389. That's actually the first decline we've seen so far this year after reaching elevated levels in March and April. So for reference, January was $330 a square foot, February was $307 a square foot, March jumped to $480 a square foot, and April climbed even higher to $515 a square foot. And now in May, we've settled back to $389 a square foot. So this suggests that some of the spring pricing pressure may be easing as inventory increases and buyers gain more options. Again, not necessarily a negative sign, just another indicator of a market moving toward balance. Days on market remained relatively stable, moving from 133 days to 132 days. That's essentially unchanged month over month. However, compared to last year, homes are taking slightly longer to sell, which aligns with the increase in available inventory. And cash buyers continue to play a major role in our market. They're accounting for about 42% of all sales in the month of May. That's still a significant portion of transactions and highlights the continued presence of second home buyers and investors throughout the high country. So, what's the big takeaway from May? Well, the high country market remains healthy and active. Inventory is growing, giving buyers more opportunities. Sales activity remains strong, showing that demand is still present. And prices have softened slightly, but not dramatically. And the overall market appears to be moving toward a more balanced and sustainable environment. If you're thinking about buying, selling, investing, or just simply want to know what your property may be worth in today's market, feel free to reach out. And if you found this update helpful, Go ahead and make sure to hit that like button to like this video. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye, y'all.